Welcome to RetroLogic. I'm Dan Caparello, and joining me today, as always, is John Cummins.
Howdy.
And Sam Wagers.
Hello, everyone.
And this week we have a very special guest, my friend and yours, Seth, from the All In podcast. What is up, Seth? How are you doing?
It is me. What's up, guys? So happy to be back as always. Always a pleasure to hang out with you guys.
Yes, I can't help but have you on anytime we get to talk about something weird. Just seems appropriate.
Yeah, you better
place.
be careful. You better be careful, because I hear that if you guess 3 times, they just make you a host.
That's the going rate.
He's got his own
That's
thing.
the going host rate.
He's got his own thing going on. Speaking of, Seth, why don't you real quick tell the folks about a little bit about All In and where they can find your thing.
Yeah, sure. So I do a podcast called All In, a Nintendo podcast with my good friend Eric. And we do that thing every week. It is a weekly Nintendo variety show where each week, and it's so funny too, because I said this when we had you on my show last week, Dan. I think the Venn diagram of our audience is probably a circle, but in case you folks have never listened before, it's a weekly Nintendo variety show where each Saturday we kind of break down different facets of being a Nintendo fan. We have kind of 4 revolving segments. We cover the news, just like any good, Nintendo podcast. We do a weekly top 5. We do a weekly indie showcase where we spotlight an awesome indie game on the Switch eShop, or sometimes interview a developer. And then we have kind of a revolving main segment. It could be anything from a review to a retrospective. Like last week, we talked about Super Metroid with Dan here, and that was awesome. On his lunch break, no less. It was great.
Couldn't think of a better way to spend my lunch break.
So we just kind of we just have a good time, and we just try to bring a little bit of variety and positivity, and that is every Saturday. You can find it. Somebody actually called out, one of our new Discord members called out that I should spell it whenever I guest on podcasts. So it's the letter N. It's all N, ALLN, a Nintendo podcast.
That's a good idea.
He was like, I had a hard time finding it, so yeah, I should spell it for folks. And yeah, we're on all the podcast feeds. We're on YouTube, and you can find that at All In Podcast on Twitter. And then I also do a show called Keep Nintendo Weird, which is a weird Nintendo show about loving weird Nintendo games. And I do that every other week. And so it's you came to the right guy. If you need somebody to talk about weird Nintendo games, you came to the right guy.
That's what we do.
You can find that on the you can find that on podcast feeds as well. That's at KNW Podcast on Twitter. And that's pretty much what I do.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Seth, again for jumping on with us. I asked you a little bit last minute last week, but you were totally willing to come on. It's always a pleasure. So,
please.
So we have quite a packed show this week. But before we jump into things, I want to tell you that RetroLogic isn't just a podcast. It's also a retro game store. You can visit retrologic.games to check out our growing inventory of clean, tested, and authentic games and merch. And I just uploaded a bunch of new, fresh inventory to the game store, so you can check that out. Lots of GameCube, GBA, Dreamcast, stuff like that. And some of it already sold, so you better head over there. And
nice.
If you're a member of the Discord, you got a little coupon code. So there's some incentive for you to go join the Discord, which the link to that is in my Twitter bio at RetroLogic Games. Today, we are going to talk about the Weta / Heritage Auction House situation, the controversy, and we are going to dive deep into WarioWare, since Seth is here. Wario. But first, we're going to do our icebreaker, as always, and we're going to talk about games that we bought, games that we played. We're going to try to keep it short this week, guys, because this show is so full, and I want to try to get through everything and not hit the 2-hour mark. So we'll see. Right. With Seth on, you never know, but we're going to try.
You never know, man. That's All In typically goes like 2.5, 2:45.
Yeah.
So look, guilty.
So why don't you go ahead and start, Seth? You go first, since you're our guest.
Sure. Yeah. So in terms of what I bought, Shantae Limited Run Games Collector's Edition, that came in. Finally, folks who are fans of Limited Run, it takes a little while to get those games after you buy them. So that finally came in. That was really nice and pretty. It's the actual Game Boy Color cartridge that they made. And so I can play Shantae on original hardware without paying a ton of money. So that was cool. Really nice. They always do such a good job with LRG, so happy to have that. Also picked up after you invited me on. I started to kind of look through the WarioWare games that I don't have in the collection. So I grabbed WarioWare Touched off of Mercari for a really good price, about $10 less than it typically goes for. So I got a really good deal on it. Grabbed that. That was good. I also picked up. Have you guys ever heard of Major Minor's Majestic March?
That was actually one of my Price's Retro games a while back when I was going through all of the like Parappa the Rapper games, because it's the same composer.
That's why it sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that game is absurdly cheap right now. I don't know if it's ever been expensive, but like you can get that game for 99 cents right now. And I bought it on eBay for $3 shipped. So
oh wow.
It was free basically because the shipping.
It was basically free. I have that come in. Things are a little bit weird with shipping right now because we just had a hurricane blow through, but I have that on its way. And I it's not a good game, but it's like, hey, it's a Matsura game, so I'm like, I'll have it in the collection. Sure, why not? It's cheap.
You got to do that Keep Nintendo Weird episode about that game at some point.
Why not? We got to have that. We got to have Ribbit King at some point. But in terms of things I have played, obviously No More Heroes 3 is out, and I've been playing just a ton of that. So like that game came out on Friday, and I've already put like 15 hours into it somehow. It has manifested itself. I don't know how. Just loving it though. Like it is a No More Heroes game through and through. I have actually a lot of thoughts about the game, but I'll keep it brief. It's one of those things where, like, if you're a No More Heroes fan and like you're coming into this game wanting it to be like a super polished, 60 FPS throughout kind of like experience that runs super well and is super pretty, like that's not what this game is. Like the open world, the frame rate's bad. It straight up at times like looks like a Wii game. Like I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. It looks bad at times. But like it's also bar none like the craziest gaming experience I think I've ever had. My entire experience playing this game has just been me going, no, he did not at my television. Like every 5 minutes, it is absurd. And it has just been like an absolute blast the entire way through. And then like, it's got the best combat of the series. The music like absolutely slaps. I just like, it has all of these objective little like quality things, but No More Heroes always has that. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not looking for it to have some like super duper in-depth and polished open world. I'm looking for it to be No More Heroes. I'm looking for it to be crazy, and it has that in spades. So I really love it. I think if you are somebody who enjoyed the previous No More Heroes games, and if you were willing to kind of like accept the series shortcomings, you should just dive in to 3. Like I really love it. I know, John, you're a No More Heroes fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I definitely plan on picking it up. I haven't yet. Got too much on my plate at the moment, but it's definitely one of those. I missed the collector's edition, so I'm probably gonna wait.
Yeah, I hear you.
I've got time to let it come down a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's really good, and like to hear Suda tell it, it's probably going to be the last game in the series, and it seems like Grasshopper doesn't even own the rights to the series anymore, so that's a little sad. But I'll tell you, it really feels like a game where Suda51 was like, if this is going to be my last chance at making No More Heroes, I am going to go for it. So it's nuts. Anyway, and then Spelunky 2. I've been playing a lot of Spelunky 2. It's one of my favorite indie games of all time, and it's just really, really good, and everybody should buy and play Spelunky 2. So that's what I got on that.
Awesome, dude. Thank you for sharing that. Good stuff. I want to hear more about Major Minors when you finally pop it in.
Yes.
I want to hear more about that game.
Yes. Stay tuned for that Keep Nintendo Weird episode.
Yes. Awesome. Sam, what's up with you, man?
Yeah, the only thing I bought this week was a trade I made with you for your spare copy of General Chaos for the Genesis. That actually just arrived today. I just opened it recently. I didn't get a chance to play it. But my Analog Mega SG did arrive on Thursday. So I've been trying out a lot of Sega games, and I've just been beating games left and right this week.
Nice,
After playing the same games for a long time, I beat them all at the same time. But I finally beat Neo: The World Ends With You this week, at least the base game. I rolled credits. There is another day, there's stuff to do to 100%, and I'd like to, but I'm not sure I'll get to it. I don't know. I've dabbled in some of it. We'll see.
Is it 3 weeks for this one too?
Yes, although I will warn you, if you want to stay up late to finish the last day like I did, that the last day is basically 3 days.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If you've played it, you know there's time travel stuff. So
Right.
You kind of expect that to come into play for the finale. Yeah, it's a bit repetitive. But yeah, I also finally reached Master Rank in Pokemon Unite, so I basically beat that game to the extent you can beat a multiplayer game.
You're the master.
And as far as I also finally got around to the WarioWare Get It Together demo. Got to play some of that in time for today. And I did beat Claymates in time for Retro Rewind. And I also did a playthrough of Castle of Illusion. That was the first thing I put in my Mega SG.
Oh, cool.
It doesn't take long to play through it. It was a lot of fun. I tested most of my games, but the only other ones that I spent much time playing were NHL 94, which is just a very nice pick up and play. You know, we've obviously heard a lot of good things about it from Chris. And also a Master System game called Penguin Land that I don't hear people talk about ever, but I have had a lot of fun with. It reminds me
Price's retro games.
Yeah, it reminds me quite a bit of Fire and Ice on the NES, I think, just because it's a similar, like, you remove ice blocks to find a path down, and you have to be careful about not locking yourself into an unwinnable scenario. But you're a penguin trying to roll an egg down to the bottom of a stage without it breaking. If it falls too far at once, it breaks. If a polar bear punches it, it breaks. If you fall on top of it and it has nowhere to roll away to, it breaks. And there's just a lot of ways to mess yourself up, and I'm very bad at it. It took me a long time to beat the first 3 stages, but it is forgiving in that you can select your stage from the main menu, which is nice. You don't even need to worry about continues. It still gives you lives just for keeping track of your score. When you run out of lives, your score goes back to 0, but you can always pick up at the same stage. And it has a level editor too, which is pretty cool.
Okay, awesome.
For that early.
Good deal, man. John, I don't see anything on your list here. Did you buy or play anything this week?
I probably have the wrong notes open.
Oh,
That's
okay.
all right. I could do it off the top of my head.
Go for it.
So I bought a copy of Super Mario World and a copy of Super Mario RPG for the Super Famicom. These were just hanging out at a flea market for like $5 a piece. So I was like, I'll buy those. just to have to put on a shelf. Because I guess I could play Super Mario World, but RPG's out of the question. And in that same flea market, I got a Pac-Man book and a copy of Golf for the NES, which I played. And I hadn't played golf in a very long time. And it is not near as good as Mario Golf that I've been playing for the last 8 weeks.
Yeah, they sure updated golf, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Golf has definitely changed. Just the waiting time for like the ball to land, like the it's like really slow. But one more thing that I bought in that flea market, they had just a NES console with a Super NES console with the video cables attached to it, and they had $30 on it, and I was like, yeah, I'll buy that just in case I need an extra one, or if someone else needs one,
why not?
Get rid of it. But I was testing it out, and when I tested it out, I also played NHL 94 on my Super Nintendo. I played a quick round of the just the single shot mode where you're taking like penalty shots on the on the goalie. But
Bring it to Switch. Bring it to Switch.
Right.
How we need to, like, just for Chris, we all need to just as a community rally together, put a petition out there, mail that off to EA.
Change.org.
You know what I mean?
Let's do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even having the Genesis game now, like, I kind of want Rewind just so I can rep Columbus because they didn't exist in '94.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably some other teams in that same boat too, but
Yeah, like Vegas.
so yeah, they just need to give us. I mean, they can clean it up a little bit if they want to, just like newer emulation stuff with the NES Classic and things. But yeah, just keep it the same and update the rosters and stuff like that. There's probably some rule changes that could probably be made. I'm sure hockey's had some things changed since 1994.
In 30 years.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I mean, football's been totally different since then, so I only imagine hockey's probably changed something. But yeah, as far as what I've been playing is golf, NHL 94. I finally picked up a copy of Windbound for the Switch digitally. That one's been on my wish list, waiting for it to go down. It finally hit like half price, so I bought it. It's pretty neat. It's kind of touches on a Breath of the Wild type where you just openly explore everything, but it's definitely more crafting than I was expecting, but it's still fun. I've been enjoying it. And I did play a little bit more of Risk for Rain 2 with my son. I tried the first Risk for Rain and it's cool. Like, I dig the concept, and you can totally see where they went. You know, with the second one is just the 3D version basically, and but it's neat that I played them backwards because all the enemies that you see, you now get to see them in little bitty tiny, 2D sprites on the screen, and like the magma worm that comes up out of the ground, it's like a 2D sprite that's pretty good size for compared to you. But yeah, it was a neat playing them backwards, I thought. But that's basically what I've been playing. Just some fun games.
Sweet. All right, thank you, John. As far as me, not a whole lot going on. My local favorite local shop was having 20% off any Sega game, which is like any game on a Sega system or any Sega developed game on another system, which is a pretty cool sale. So I was looking for some stuff, but I mean, by the time I got there, it was all pretty much picked through. But I did pick
Does that
up.
include Atlas?
No, it has to say Sega on it. I'm sure you could convince them, but
yeah, I was like, it is Sega.
But they didn't really have anything.
Have Sega on the box,
yeah,
no?
There's maybe copyrights on the bottom or something.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I
So
didn't
it's right
ask
here in
this.
the fine print.
I didn't ask.
Yeah,
whatever. But I did pick up Sega Genesis Classics, the Sonic Sega Genesis Classics on the Xbox 360, because that has unlockable Golden Axe Warrior for the Master System, which is like $100 cartridge. So I figured, $12, sure, seems worth it. Plus, it has some Genesis games that are not on the collection that's on Switch right now. Don't know them off the top of my head, so don't ask me, but there are a few. And then the other thing that I picked up is, so here's the thing. Here's the thing about being a collector and running a game store, is that sometimes you get a bunch of trades in and you're like, oh man, like I really want this for me, but I can't steal from myself because that's like not right. That's like not right.
You can buy from yourself.
It all has to be separate. Well, so what I did was I purchased from myself Metroid Zero Mission for the Game Boy Advance. Because that's how you have to play the original Metroid. That's just how you have to do it. And with Dread coming out, it was really high on my list of gets. I already have Fusion. So now so 1, 2, Super. Yeah, so I don't own a copy of Super other than the one on NSO and the Super Nintendo. So I do actually, probably. I guess I do. Yeah, so now I have access to all of the Metroid games prior to Dread, and Lord knows.
You have other M?
No, like the numbered.
Well, it's part of the story.
You know what, John? If I wanted Metroid Other M, I would have gotten it already because it's pretty cheap. So
I'm about to say it's got to be cheap. Yeah.
And I don't
That's what I'm saying. You need to.
I guess that's the only one that I don't own, and I'm okay with it.
I think it fits in like right after Super Metroid.
As far as the numbered story 2D Metroid games go, I now own them all prior to Dread, so I feel good about that. And just guys, I don't play video games anymore. Part of it is that the Dan Cave is dismantled for the summer. But part of it is just that so much contract work has been coming in, which is a good thing, right? It's a good thing. I'm very busy. I'm easily supplementing my income from when I was full-time and then some. You know, we're going on vacation in a couple weeks. But like just there really isn't like downtime. There isn't. So which like is really not good for like my mental state, but hoping that after we get back from vacation, things will start to cool off in the garage and I can bring things back in here and sort of have a place to like actually play things. Cause I'm not playing anything retro that's not like on NSO or whatever because of that. Just everything's packed away. Even Switch though, like I bring my Switch with me everywhere, but I almost never pull the thing out and cause I'm just always doing something. So just pray for old Dan. Pray that he finds time somewhere, makes time. Feels like playing video games. All that. That being said, y'all want to play some Price is Retro? Well, if this is your first time listening to a game of Price is Retro, here's how it works. I'm going to list off 4 or 5 games and just the games and condition, and you're going to guess how much the entire lot of those games is worth in total. And we're all going to take turns saying our lists, and we're all going to take turns guessing, and then whoever is the closest to guessing the correct price of the list at the end of the game wins. We have Seth with us as a guest who has his own list. And we have a guest list from our Discord community, Chris HL94, who I skipped last week by accident, and he was quick to remind me. Thank you, Chris, for the reminder. So we are going to get him in there at the end as well. So to kick things off, I'm going to let John go first.
Alrighty. The first game on my list is Super Mario RPG for the SNES Complete.
Complete. Shut up.
Complete.
Jeez.
The second game on my list is Sonic Chronicles for the DS Complete. The third game on my list is Mega Man Legends for the PS1 Complete. And the fourth game on my list is Skylanders Imaginator Starter Pack for the Switch Complete.
There's a Skylanders game on Switch.
All right.
You thought it died before it made it.
I actually had no idea.
It was pretty early. I think it was first year.
Pretty early.
Okay.
All right.
I'm actually not sure about that one at all.
I got nothing, man.
All right, I guess I'll go first. $650.
I'm just gonna throw out 500.
435. I'm the lowest. I'm always the lowest. Always under.
What happened to the Ghost 300 entry?
Yeah,
right?
we're gonna introduce the Ghost in season 2.
I think we'll beat him on this round.
Yeah,
it's still Okay, so the total of all 4 of my games is $543.
Okay.
Hey,
nice one, Seth.
Is that me?
Yeah, that's you.
Cool.
Yes. So
I like to say I gave you a little bit of a nudge there, but we'll let that go.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Just a little push in the right direction to get you started. You're on your own now.
So Super Mario RPG for the Super Nintendo Complete is $295.
I had 300 on that. I wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Sonic Chronicles DS Complete is $29.
Wow.
Gonna have to snag that.
I knew that wasn't much.
I thought it was higher than that, so I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, I thought it was higher than that too.
I think it was recently. I think it's come down a little bit. Mega Man Legends for the PS1 complete is $60.
I was actually all over on it.
Skylanders Imaginator starter pack for the Switch complete is $160.
Holy moly!
Yep.
I was guessing it wasn't much because I thought Skylanders had come and
I
gone.
had 40 on it.
So, fun fact, while researching because I had a theme that I wanted to put together and then I had to figure that out. But while doing that, I found a version of Skylanders that was on the Wii U, the PS3, maybe 4, and Xbox. But it was a version of Trap Force or Trap Team or whatever?
Yeah.
But it was a special edition Crayola version that you could color the box. And this version, if you didn't color the box, it was worth $300. But I knew that if I threw that on there, you guys would probably figure out that it was worth something.
My goodness.
You fooled me. I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went with the I thought would be the more obvious, but
I knew that one, but yeah. Good game. Okay, so who is up next? Seth, why don't you go next? Get your list.
Sure. Okay, so I've got 4 games. 3 of them are complete in box, and one of them is a digital title. I hope that's okay. It's digital only, but it'll make sense with the theme when the theme reveals itself, okay?
Is it currently available digitally?
Yes. Okay. Currently available. It's actually Switch title.
All right.
So we'll get there. The first game on my list is the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, complete for 360, just the standard 360 game. The second game is Ratchet & Clank Future: A Crack in Time, complete for PS3. Not the greatest hits, just the normal version. The third game is Jet Set Radio Future, standalone, not the combo disc, complete for original Xbox. And then the digital one for Switch is Runner 3.
Runner 3?
Yep.
Can I get a genre on Runner 3?
It's so the Runner series is like one of those, it's almost like one of those mobile games, like an infinite runner where you dodge obstacles.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's an endless runner.
Yeah.
We don't normally allow digital titles on Prices Retro, but
it'll make sense.
You're a friend.
I promise it'll make sense.
And I'm gonna
And Runner 3 had Charles Martinet in it too, so.
It did indeed, John.
Yes, it did.
Y'all are so smart.
So.
All right. Y'all, go ahead. Somebody else go first.
I go first. 150.
Okay. I'm going to say 115.
I was going to go 110. So.
Dang it.
We're all there.
Right. Your guys aren't far off, actually. The total is $84.95 for the whole lot. So it breaks down like this. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, complete for 360, is $4.10. Which surprising nobody. Ratchet is 1977. Weirdly, it is like just a couple of cents off. The regular and the greatest hits, basically the same price.
Yeah.
JSRF standalone is $41.09, and then Runner 3 is $19.99. John, you called it. The common thread between these games is Charles Martinet.
Yep.
These are all games in which Charles Martinet has like a full speaking role that is not Mario.
That is cool.
In Skyrim, he plays a dragon called Parthenax. And he's got this deep, booming voice. He's Parthenax, you know.
Charles Martinet is a talented dude.
He really is. In Ratchet, he plays Orvis, kind of a plucky little side companion. And then he actually plays the villain of JSRF, Rikaku Goji. And he plays himself in Runner 3.
Yep.
I love that.
That's awesome.
I love that. Awesome. Okay. Sam, go ahead, bud.
All right. I'll just go ahead and tip the theme here. These are all games that support the Super Nintendo mouse. So they are all Super Nintendo games, naturally. And they are all complete in box, just to make it easy for you.
Okay.
Come on.
So first I have King Arthur's World. followed by Mario's Early Years Preschool Fun, Sim Ant, The Electric Ant Colony, and Troddlers.
Sim Ant is the only game on that list that I'm familiar with.
Good Lord, man.
Is Troddlers like that Pooplers game with like the toddlers that poop?
No, it's basically Lemmings from what I could tell.
Okay.
And these are all complete?
Lemmings 2
complete
is
in
mouse
box.
compatible, and that's like my favorite.
All complete in
mouse
box.
game.
All Super Nintendo games.
Okay. Wonderful. Seth, you're gonna guess first this time.
I'm gonna go first, and it's gonna be like wildly off, but I'm gonna 1100. 1100. Let's go for it.
Wow. Okay.
Let's do it. Go
John?
big.
I am going to say 350.
Okay. I'm gonna say 400.
I'm banking on one of those being like $600.
You probably
Total is $222.08.
Yeah.
So no. Sorry.
There it is.
The most expensive actually is Mario's Early Years Preschool Fun
Yeah.
at $90.89.
Oh, that low.
King Arthur's World is $33. Sim Ant is $63.53, and Troddlers is $34.66.
Complete? That's a steal. Man.
Yeah. I thought that
Yep.
I thought that Mario Early Years game would be much more expensive because it's pretty hard to find.
Dude, I was hoping that King Arthur would be just one of those like random games that cost like $700 or something.
Yeah,
No, it's
just
actually
banking on
pretty.
that.
It's one I've actually thought about picking up just because it's like a 2D RTS, which I just think is
Wow.
interesting.
Nice.
yeah. Sam did get us with the Happy Meal game like one time, so
Sure,
you never know.
Gotta
All right.
keep you on your toes.
So let's do me next. This is my lazy list. So we have Donkey Kong Country 3 for the Super Nintendo, complete in box. Donkey Kong 64 for the Nintendo 64, complete in box. Donkey Kong 94 for the Game Boy, complete in box. And Donkey Kong Jungle Beat for the GameCube, complete in box. Sold a copy of that game today.
I'm gonna go 250.
Okay.
I'm going to say 3.
$3?
I'll just say 350.
Oh, 300.
We'll get a
Okay, 350.
we'll get a even spread.
John says $3. It's the only way my ratio is going to be, so the gap is going to be closed a little bit.
Yeah, y'all are pretty close. Y'all are all pretty close. So total value is $319. So Donkey Kong Country 3 is $122. Donkey Kong 64 is $96.
Wow.
Donkey Kong for Game Boy is $67, and Donkey Kong Jungle Beat is $33.
Sweet. I was only $19 off.
I was
close.
I was pretty close. That first one got me though. I didn't know it was that expensive.
Oh, it's the most expensive out of the series.
It's just the rarest, and pretty sought after.
Yeah.
So
It's got Kiddy Kong in it,
Yeah, that's a selling point right there.
that's really all it is. Yeah. No, I genuinely love that game though.
It's a great game.
Solid.
Kiddy Kong
platformer.
notwithstanding, it's a great game.
We've got a guest list. Chris HL94 from the Discord comes at us with a list. Let's pull it up here. Bing bong boop. Okay, it's all spoiler tagged, so I'm gonna go ahead and
NHL 94,
Throw out
NHL 94.
Four
Right,
times.
right.
Yeah.
On every
Okay.
platform.
On every platform.
So these games are complete in box. Okay, ready? So we have NHL 94 for Sega CD,
Here it is.
NHL
Here it
94
is.
for the Sega
It's
Genesis,
coming.
NHL 94 for the Super Nintendo. That's it.
All right, 3 games. Those are the only platforms the game came on, isn't it?
So I'm sure I don't. Yeah, probably.
Oh, complete in box.
Yep.
I don't know.
I'm just
going
gonna
to
go flat 100. I'm gonna go flat 100.
All right. Seth's got 100.
160.
160?
I don't
Really?
know.
How come you're over now, Sam? These are sports games.
Because
Okay.
they're complete.
That's what I'm banking on. I'm hoping they're just sports games, and even though they're complete, I don't know. We'll see.
John, what do you got?
I'm gonna say 115.
115. Okay. I'm gonna go straight 100. Oh no, Seth, you said 100. Okay, I'm gonna go.
Yeah. You could still do that.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay, I'll do it because whatever. I'm gonna go 100. All right. Total price is $59.
Oh, God.
So,
hey, we'll take it.
NHL 94 for Sega CD is $16. NHL 94 for the Genesis is $18. NHL 94 for the Super Nintendo is $25. So, there you go. I wonder what the theme is.
It's a mystery.
I don't get it.
Just
I don't know. This is another one of those like flights.
Chris, you
leave a comment below.
You stumped us. All right, John, lay it on us. What's the score?
All right. So Dan came in at 356.
Not bad.
I was at 228. Seth is at 1,031.
I'm about to say, just decimate me, John. Just do it.
I think you actually might have took the title from Nintendo. Yeah, I think you might have. I don't remember.
Man.
Look, man, I took a chance. You
have to sometimes.
Do you though?
And then Sam came in at 305. Hey, with Sam's games, you never know. Sometimes they're like, he's had some that are over $1,000.
That is true.
So with all that said, I beat out Sam by like $80. So I win.
Wow.
You guys weren't in the running anymore after you did your list, Dan.
Goodness gracious. Awesome. So John, congrats. Congrats on the win. Wow. Okay. I did a lazy list. So that's my fault.
I'll get it next time.
Harder. Yeah. I'm sure you will, Seth. Just keep trying. Awesome.
Grr.
Dan did is type in donkey on price sharding.
The Dan method is just look up a word and pick 4 random games.
Look up a word.
Yeah. I either do that or I look up like a developer and try to find some weird games from that director developer. Awesome. Okay, so we have now what we're going to do is switch on over to our news segment, which is taken over by the Weta / Heritage Auction fraud story. And I have so here's the deal. There was a YouTube video that came out this week by a YouTuber by the name of Karl Jobst, Jobst, Karl with a K. I recommend that everyone go watch his video. It's really, really good investigative journalism. He covers this thing from so many different angles, and I'm only scratching the surface with my lengthy explanation here. So on top of listening to me blabber on about it, because I got all of my info from him. This is all recapped from his video. So go watch his video. He talks about other details that I don't even touch. This is just like 1,000-foot view so you can understand basically what's going on.
That video, it's like an hour long, but it is like the fastest. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Like it's the data.
It really is.
Nuts.
It's better than like a Netflix series. Like don't watch Netflix tonight. Go watch that instead.
Right.
So basically, here's kind of like, if you don't know anything about what's going on, recently a copy of Super Mario Bros for the NES, a sealed copy, sold at auction for $2 million. Wow. Oh my gosh. $2 million for a video game. That's amazing. It is amazing. Except there is a lot of evidence that suggests that this is all an attempt to create a false bubble surrounding retro video games being bought and sold. What that basically means is that if you can inflate prices enough and long enough and get enough attention to the market, you can get people to invest money into buying or bidding on items at an inflated rate. And so then suddenly everybody goes crazy and tries to buy these things that aren't really worth that much money, but this is the extrinsic value that we've assigned to it. And then what happens is, everybody's on a buying spree. So there's tons of money being thrown around. Prices go up and up and up and up. And then at the first sign of a dip, the bubble bursts and the market crashes because everybody's trying to get out to get their money back while it's on an incline. So if it goes down a little bit, everybody starts to sell immediately and the price plummets. That's a very brief description of what a bubble is and how to create a false one. So here I'm going to lay out just a few details, and then we can go over like our thoughts on what's going on and the impact on the industry and all of that. So in 2017, a sealed copy of Super Mario Bros sold at auction for $30,000, which is, it's a special copy. It's in really good condition. It's graded and sealed. I can see that. I can be like, oh, 30,000. Sure.
Kind of makes sense.
That's like reasonable to a normal person. In 2019, the exact same copy, not a different copy, same copy sells at auction for $100,000 2 years later. 2020, a Rally, which is a fractional share company, which if you don't know what that is, that basically is a company where they will buy a very expensive item that is supposedly going to appreciate in value, and you can like put money in to the purchase of that item in anticipation of the price going up, and then like cash out and make some money off.
You own part of the item. You don't actually even own the game. You don't own a stake in it.
Really, you don't even own anything. You own what this company says this thing is worth.
It's like
an imaginary stock market.
And it's
territory on the moon.
Exactly. It's a gamble. It's just like the stock market, whatever. A site bought that exact same game for $140,000. 1 year later, in 2021, you have the story of this game being sold at auction for $2 million. So there's your first clue that something fishy is going on, because things do not appreciate in value that quickly. They don't. Especially something as niche and common, quote unquote common, as a sealed video game, right? This is not the only copy of this thing. And no like video game collector just has $2 million to buy a single thing with, right? So now let's get into these two companies that we're talking about in question. So Weta Games is a rating company that will give your collectible games a grade based on the condition, and it will seal the game in hard plastic to preserve it. Theoretically, the higher the grade given by this company, the more valuable the game will be if you sell it. This company, Weta, will take a percentage of the projected value of the game as its fee. So if you give them a game worth $100, your fee will be like $20, $5, whatever the fee is. But if you give them a game worth $200,000, suddenly their fee is like $20,000, $30,000.
It's 2%. Yeah, I was surprised by this.
Yeah,
it does make some degree of sense. I would feel terrible if I sent in a game, found out it was worth a lot, and then realized I owed money more than I thought.
It doesn't make any sense, because how does it cost the company more money to grade a more expensive
game? It costs them more to insure it. That is why. That's what their website will tell you at any rate.
Okay. I guess I can see that, because they're shipping it back and forth.
Yeah, and every collector's market has some version of this. Comics have the CGC, Pokemon cards have Beckett.
There's actually been a company around that's been doing this for over 10 years, and they do it perfectly well. The weird thing about,
they charge you a percentage though, do they? Don't they just charge for the service?
I'm not sure, but
I think that's right.
Weta has been around for 2 or 3 years and doesn't nearly have as much experience as the other company, and I forget the other company's name.
VGA.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Okay, the other company that we're questioning is this company called Heritage Auctions, which is an auction website where all of the record-breaking video game sales, this $2 million Mario sale, for example, are taking place. All of them. And they charge a 20% buyer's premium on every sale. So if you actually buy a game for $1 million, you owe the auction house $200,000 on top of the $1 million you're paying for the game. Plus, there's the seller pays a 5% fee as well. So the auction house is making out pretty good if they can make a couple $1 million sales. So these two companies, if they were in any way connected, it would be a massive conflict of interest, right? We can assume, if a rating company and an auction house are like, hey, let's rate our games higher so they sell more at auction, and let's make the Weta rated games worth like the rated game so that they have to go, if you want the highest price, you get it rated at Weta and then sold at auction at Heritage. That's sort of the like assumption that's being made. So, here it is. This is the company VGA, which has been grading games since 2008, and they don't have this kind of impact in the market because they don't manipulate the market. They grade games and they have no connection to buying or selling them. They grade them and you can take them. So the only reason Weta has had this kind of impact is because its games are the games being sold for millions at Heritage Auction House. And Heritage Auctions only sells video games rated by Weta. Are you guys still following me? Okay.
Yes. It's exclusively like Weta rated games.
Yeah.
From their inception.
Exactly.
That's important to note too.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when they started, Weta hadn't even rated anything.
Right.
Exactly. Which is all these are just facts that are incredibly suspicious. Okay, so let's talk about Dennis Kahn for a second. The founder of Weta Games, his name is Dennis Kahn, and he's quoted in the press in a press release saying, Weta certified games have been selling at record prices ever since Heritage started selling them, which is since the company's been around. He also appeared on the show Pawn Stars many times, overvaluing the price of his sealed games. And he, on multiple occasions in articles and press releases, are pumping up the value of specifically Weta-rated games. Makes no mention of other rating sites, despite them existing. The founder of Heritage Auctions is this man, Jim Halpern, and you'll hear his name a lot. Jim is listed on the Weta website as an advisor, and he's an investor in the company. Jim is one of the purchasers of the sealed Super Mario game for $100K that sold back in 2019. And it was purchased from Heritage Auctions. So here's another conflict of interest. The founder of Heritage Auctions is an advisor and an investor in Weta Games. And he was one of the people who put money in to purchase Super Mario Bros. For $100,000 from the company that he's a founder of. Let that sink in for a minute. Okay. So this is a quote.
Already very fishy. And this is just the tip of the iceberg.
This is just the tip. This is not even, this is just facts at this point. We're not even getting into like suspicion or anything. It's just,
accusations,
just actual provable facts. And this is the quote, just to sum up what we've had laid out so far. This is a quote directly from Karl Jobst video that I thought just kind of very well sums up exactly what's going on here. So what you have here is the chairman of the auction house buying a game for a record price, creating a press release about his own purchase, which he himself and the president of the grading company are stated that the value of games are going up. And press all over the world bought the story and spread it around. Which is exactly
that on its own is not super surprising. Like anybody who got into this business of grading or selling would do so because they believed that games are valuable.
Yes, that's true. That is true. What starts to get weird is all of the like insider, like who is actually pulling the strings back here and buying these games, and what are they doing with them and why. So one of the things that is understandable yet suspicious also is that the identities of all of these games being sold are kept a secret. And Heritage will never tell you who the buyers are or even if money is exchanged. So it's entirely plausible for someone on the inside to post their own game, buy their own game, money is never exchanged. Nothing ever happens behind the scenes. But now there is a quote unquote sale in the records of this game selling for $2 million. Okay. So, just as an example of how deep this gets, here is a man by the name of Eric Nyaman, who is a dentist. And in several articles, he's stated as the world's most avid video game collector in several articles, despite him only starting collecting in 2019. So all of us who've been collecting our whole lives are
not very avid.
No, apparently not. Apparently you had to have started.
Apparently means how much money you spend.
Exactly.
Not how long you've been spending it.
It's been avid for 2 years.
Many articles featuring Eric Nyaman. So what he did is he purchased a ton of these sealed Weta games. But actually he wasn't the one buying them. It was actually a trust fund buying them under his care. And the articles falsely state that Eric is the one who is buying them, and he wasn't. So there's like lying going on and like weird stuff like that. And that's just that's another sort of like just getting a press release out there that says that video games are this huge market that you need to get into.
Yeah, they're just pumping up their own story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so like that's in and of itself, just saying that the price of video games is going up is not the problem. The problem is when you have all this insider stuff happening where, you know, how exactly did this game that sold for $140,000 a year ago sell for $2 million today?
Right.
You know?
And like to sit in that pocket for just a second too, like everybody knew that something fishy was going on. Like anybody, like nobody in the actual collecting scene bought that for a second.
Exactly.
Like I remember like people like Pat Contry and Kelsey Lewin called it out like immediately, like, hang on a second, like Super Mario 64 in this condition is not that rare. You know,
it's not.
Like it really is not, you know, your perceived value of this is incorrect. Something is fishy here. And I think that's what kind of unraveled this whole thing.
This other quote from the video just kind of sums up this whole situation. He says, it's not collectors that are buying any of these games. It's purely people with a lot of money trying to scam other people out of theirs by manufacturing a bubble that otherwise shouldn't exist. So that's like the main like overarching story. It gets really deep in this video. You've got multiple accounts of shill bidding, which is putting in fake bids to try to drive up prices, which is illegal. You have employees confessing to manipulation of the market by posting and buying their own items for higher and higher prices. If there's sales data, then people will believe that actual sales took place. There's proof that Weta fraud related to the Carolina collection, which according to an SEC filing, the purchaser of this collection, who also had the collection rated by Weta and sold much of it through Heritage, is a director at Weta Games, which is a huge conflict of interest. So just a side note, the Carolina collection is a collection of sealed games that was bought in bulk from one collector to another. And the purchaser, Jeff Meyer, is on the board of Weta. He's a director at Weta, and he had them rated by Weta and then sold at auction at Heritage.
And they gave it this like nice fancy name, the Carolina.
Well, just
collection.
on the face of it, Weta's official policy is that its employees are not supposed to grade or sell games using their services, which that's a violation of. But in addition to that, this guy's games got a special label that said the Carolina collection. So basically a way to make them sell for more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's also proof of wild inconsistencies in Weta's ratings. Like, you have people who are getting their games rated, opening them, sending them back, and getting a different rating. You have pictures of games that are rated very highly that have obvious flaws. It appears that they're touting themselves as this like authority in rating games when really they suck at it. Like, that in and of itself is a news story. And then the final kind of like big detail that he goes way into more detail about all this in the video, and I highly recommend everyone going and checking it out, is Jim Halpern being highly involved in the 80s coin bubble. He was actually found guilty of intentionally misrating coins and was fined $2 million. And in case you forgot who he is the founder of Heritage Auctions. And and an investor in Weta, and
he also the guy just looks like if you were to cast a guy to play the devil, he just looks like that. He's like
he looks like that's funny.
But he's scamming all those people still. He's got to make that $2 million back.
That's it.
So the last part of this, that's like part of my official like run through of the video, is what our action is and what we can actually do, which is not much, because these are all, aside from like there actually being an investigation from the SCC may happen, I don't know, is to bombard Weta with requests to release a population report. What a population report is that tells you how many and of what games they've rated and what their ratings were. So if you can track all of that data and see what the prices are and what, or not what the prices are, but what the games were and what the ratings was, then you can get a very clear picture of their inconsistencies and whether they're rating very specific copies higher than others for reasons and where those games are going. They do,
and how many of them are available and what the rarity. And it's, by the way, standard practice.
Every other rating site does this because they're not trying to manipulate the market. So,
and this is the only reason they have to point to say, that Mario 64 is worth 1.5 million, is to say, well, it's a 9.8 and we've only rated how many 9.8s? We won't tell you.
Yep. We won't tell you.
We won't tell you how many 9.6s either.
Exactly. So you can actually go to Weta Games' contact page, which I encourage you to do. Go to www.wetagames.com/contact-us and tell them, please release your population report so that we know that you're not a bunch of liars, or something to that effect. Okay. That's everything that I have. That's like the least amount of info that I could put into this while still making a good case about it. There's some things that are like totally innocuous, like, you know what? Like, yeah, the price of video games is going up. So that statement in and of itself isn't nefarious.
It's just a blanket statement.
Yeah, it's a prediction. Right. I say that, it's something that you can say.
Well, it's just facts.
But
there is a distinction to be made too. Anytime a commodity has a lot of value and a value that fluctuates, there's going to be speculation on it. You see this in every kind of collectible. You see it in stocks. You see it in cryptocurrencies. Whether or not we want it, that's going to happen. The issue is when people are making that happen on their own timetable so that they're ahead of the curve and they get to sell all their stuff before the rest of us are stuck with everything after the price crashes.
Exactly. Yep. Right. And so, the last part that's like my part before we get into like, what our thoughts are and everything is what my prediction is for what the aftermath is if they're succeeding in creating a bubble and the bubble bursts. The real losers here are the ones that got in late that like were like, oh, this is going up, I'm going to buy some. And then the bubble bursts, those people, which like, I don't know, if you're looking at this on a surface level and saying, I want to get in on this, then like you're an idiot and you're doing it to yourself. The ones that are being hurt by this the most are people new to collecting, people who just want to buy video games and collect them because it's a fun hobby. And and mom and pop retro game stores who are regularly buying and selling games based on current values. You've already seen the price of games go up significantly recently. We don't know if that's because of this or because of COVID or what, but right now it's a seller's market, which is good for game stores. If retro video games become a bubble and everything, rising tide raises all ships and everything goes up, and then the bubble pops and everything drops down, now these game stores have inventory full of stores that they bought at a premium because that was the going rate. And now they can't sell them for half of what they bought them for because the price bottomed out. And then they all go out of business because their cash flow's gone. And if that happens, I'm going to be so inconsolable. There's literally,
it's difficult. It is difficult to say how much the price of these graded games drives the price of loose versus complete in box versus ungraded sealed.
That's true.
There's definitely, it all ties together, but if you look at Weta and even VGA, when it comes to grading, actually the majority of grading is based on the seal in the box. The cartridge is actually a minority. The quality of the cartridge is a minority.
Well, because you can't even see the cartridge in most cases. It's like...
Well, in most cases, they do open it up and see the cartridge, and then they reseal it in the plastic case after. But...
What? They'll open a sealed game?
Yeah, they do. In order to grade and test it. That's what they do. As far as I'm aware.
That. And that seems weird.
I mean, I'm kind of saying
my game's graded.
I don't, Yeah, I don't think that the average collector is going to be impacted a whole lot by this because you're probably not buying graded games.
No, that's true. And like you and I, if we already have a collection and you're happy with it, then you're probably not going to be affected at all because you have your collection to play them, not to make money off of them, right?
Yeah,
and you already own most of what you want.
But does that mean there are fewer copies to go around because people are sending them in to get a plastic prison for all eternity?
That's the part of it that's frustrating. Is if you are young and you're like, oh, like retro gaming is awesome and it is awesome and I want to get into it and start collecting stuff, and there's scarcity in the market now and everybody's aware of it, so everybody's jacking up their prices because they know they can or they think they can. That's an impenetrable market for you now. So now that option's off the table because it's too expensive. And yes, prices go up. Don't hear me wrong. Yes, video game prices are going to go up because demand goes up and supply goes down, but not at this rate. Not at a rate of 5,000% per year. That's not a thing.
No. The increases we've been seeing on the normal market of video games is pretty normal, especially whenever you're a economy that's been artificially boosted over the last year and a half by the government. You're probably going to see stuff like this. Everything's going up in that sense because there's less of it to go around and more people have money to buy it at a higher price. So, but the stuff that's happening with the graded games is a totally different animal altogether.
Yeah, it's different. I mean,
we called it out on the show. We called it out on the show when this first happened. They're like, these people are dumb. They don't realize that game is not worth, a fraction of that cost.
Well, and
somebody bought it
in a lot of ways. They're picking popular games to do this because everybody's got a copy of Mario 64 and wants to know what it's worth now.
Because that makes good headlines too, because everybody remembers Mario
and
64.
It means Weta is grading lots of copies of Mario 64 and taking a 2% cut of the valuable ones and the flat rate of 150 for the rest.
Yep. So now if they get a bunch of Marios in and they can value them at $2 million and make $200,000 instead of what the actual going rate is per game, then look, Weta wins.
And that's the thing I didn't realize with the taking the 2% is they actually are making an assessment on the direct monetary value. I thought all they assigned was just their 9.8 score, and we'll let the market determine what that's worth. But no, they're like, oh, yeah, this is worth $2 million, so you owe us $200,000. Pay up.
Yeah, it's super sleazy. It screams just fraud and lies, deception behind the closed doors. And like, we just want them to be honest. We want transparency in the market. We want to make sure that that people are protected, their money's protected. We want to make sure that people are being honest because this is a hobby that we care about.
And by the way, honesty with things like population reports is the bare minimum that we should expect from a grading house.
And normal.
And yeah, totally normal standard practice, the bare minimum that they should, just to be transparent and honest with people. To be honest, like my hope is that because there are people who are, people like us and people who are, people in the collectors scene who are calling them out on this stuff, and people like Karl who are making these documentaries and laying all this evidence bare. I'm kind of hoping that we're so much more savvy now than, we brought up Jim Halperin and like the coin bubble in the 80s. People today are so much more in tune than they were back then.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And my hope is that we can just kind of like stamp this out and nip it in the bud.
So
on the other hand, though, I mean, we're not the target. The target is people like the dentist, Eric Nyman. It's people that they can say, "Hey,
collector on earth.
You have lots of money, and you want somewhere to put it. You want something to invest in, and your stocks aren't doing well. Let me get you in on the ground about this. Prices are going up. We have data that shows you this sold for $1.5 million. It sold for." They'll use that, the very point we're pointing out that makes it absurd to say, "Look at how much money you could make if you bought one of these Mario games for $30,000 a couple of years ago. You could be selling it for $2 million now."
So guess how much a water rated 9.2 copy of Super Mario 64 sold for 2 months, like almost 3 months prior.
Way less.
Any guessers?
I think I brought it up when we talked about it.
Price is retro.
It's like 80,000, something like that.
No, $6,000.
6,000, yeah.
$6,000
for a 9.2 as opposed to a 9.2.
Yeah, exactly. I tried to find something that's similar, and I looked it up on price charting because they have the Heritage Auction sale listed on here. 2 sales below it on May 1st of this year, a 9.2 water graded Super Mario 64 sold for $6,700. And then 3 months later, now all of a sudden one that's just, a few ticks higher on the grade scale sold for $1.5 million. So you have to know that there's something
their grading
crazy.
Is wildly inconsistent. So like, what's even the difference between the 9.2 and the 9.8? We don't know. We're just trusting Weta, which is a horrible decision. One of my thoughts was that now I'm not going to remember it because we kept talking and I forgot it. I said it earlier today and I was like, that's really smart. I should say that on the podcast. Okay, I'll think of it. I'll think of it in a minute.
Here's another one. Here's another Weta that sold. It's a 9, a straight 9. It sold back in 2019 for $1,500. Can't tell me that it's just like increased exponentially that much in so little of time. Like nothing else has gone up that much. There's nothing.
And again, like
they
aren't even selling rare games. They're not selling Nintendo World Championship carts. They're not selling like 64. The one copy of the English translation of the first Mother game that exists.
So yeah,
it was auctioned forever ago and got dumped as a ROM online.
So here's the thing. Here's the difference between coins and video games. I mean, there's a lot of differences, but here's it. Coin bubble versus video game bubble. Here's the major difference: is that coins didn't have like. Maybe they did, but not. I feel like video games have so much more intrinsic value, which is just the value that it has as a thing and not the value you assign to it. so much more value to a random person than a coin does. You have to assign value to a coin unless you melt it down back to its metal. And what's that worth? You know?
Well, especially nowadays.
So like, you know, a copy of Mario Duck Hunt, maybe $10, you know, but there's millions of people who connect to that game on like a personal level because that's the game that they had with their Nintendo when they were growing up. That's intrinsic value, right? Because
you never played Quarter,
the video game, right?
Awesome game.
Because the video
at the
game
same time, though, I mean,
hold on. The video game itself has value outside of what it's actually worth to buy and sell. Coins don't really have that. Like, I'm not nostalgic for a freaking coin, you know?
Yeah.
So that to me is hope that there's enough collectors and backlash out there where it's like, no, we love these things and we want them to be accessible, and you can't do this to people. It's horrible. Stop lying. You know, there's enough backlash.
Point, though, some of these people who are investors in Weta did the same things to comics. And you could say that about comics. People, There are comics collectors who just, you know, they grew up with the comics and they love them.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, comics are in a very similar boat to video games, and I only imagine that grading them is equally as difficult. And probably, you know, these companies, there's probably some that are better than others.
Yeah, for real. So there's no easy answers. There's no like definites here. We're just kind of going over what the details are and what the accusations and suspicions are based on the facts. Go watch the video, make your own judgment about it. I would love to hear what you guys think.
Most of it really isn't new information either.
No.
It's just somebody took the time to put together
it's
all
just
those
really
facts.
good investigative journalism. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you want to add me on Twitter at RetroLogic Games, let me know what you guys think about this, where you think the market will go. Is it even going to affect us who are just playing the games, you know? So, yeah. So, let's take a quick break after that. My voice after all that. Whew. And then we'll let Seth talk about... And then when we come back, we're going to let Seth talk about WarioWare for a little while. So that'll be nice. It'll be a nice refresher after some serious talk. So don't go away. We'll be right back. After a quick break, we are feeling much better about our lives and not so angry at the world because we've got Seth with us to talk WarioWare. We are going to jump through every game in the series and just say a little bit about it, kind of the history of the series. I think between all four of us, all of these games have been played in one way or another. Maybe not.
Oh, yeah.
Have you played the DSiWare game, Seth?
The Snapped?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm glad I was smart to bring you on.
Yep.
Awesome.
Have
Good
some
deal.
experience with all of these in varying degrees, but yes.
So we're going to jump right in and start with WarioWare Incorporated, Mega Micro Games for the Game Boy Advance, and Mega Party Games for the GameCube. March 21st, 2003 in Japan, and May 26th, 2003 in North America. And I'll just jump in first because I didn't even know that there was a Game Boy Advance game.
Really?
I saw the GameCube game on the shelf and I was like, hey, that's cool. Don't know what it is. I'm going to buy it. And it ended up being like one of me and my friends, like absolute go-to multiplayer games for probably years. You know, like it overtook Smash Brothers for us. We were like, no, we're playing WarioWare. You know, because like I had no bearing on what it was, and then we come in and it's totally bonkers. You just kind of have to figure it out, you know? And the party game for the GameCube really adds a lot of little extra elements in there to make the multiplayer extra fun. So that was kind of my first experience with it. What about you, Seth? Your first jump in with WarioWare?
It was GBA, and the GBA is a really special system to me, and that first WarioWare game is by far my favorite GBA game. Like, it just, when I think of that game, I think you guys talked about this on the show at some point, but like, there are just certain games that just like take you right back to like a place in time. You can almost like for me, that first WarioWare game, when I'm playing it on my GBA SP that I have, like, all of a sudden I'm 11 or 12 or however old I was when that game came out, and I'm in the back seat of my mom's car, and we're on a road trip, and like I can smell like the McDonald's fries. Like, it brings you right back, man. Like, and that game is just so wonderful. Like the vibes of that game, the quality of those mini games, like when you think about WarioWare and how brilliant those micro games are designed, the fact that they can convey to you like immediately what you're supposed to do, usually with one word, and usually with just a few seconds to achieve what you need to. And every now and then you slip up, but like, for the most part, it's like low key, really genius design. And
slipping up is your fault, right? Because by the time you're slipping up, you've played all these games. Like, you're just doing it a little bit faster, so it's your own fault. You already know how to play. What's your problem?
And I think and this is something I was talking to you about, Dan. It's also, this series is like low key one of Nintendo's most important series, in my opinion, because they have taken advantage with WarioWare games, just an absolute showcase of Nintendo's hardware. And the way that they always innovate with their hardware, they always have a WarioWare game, ready to take advantage of it. And it may not, capture this massive audience or whatever every single time, but it is always a beautiful showcase of the hardware. Even Game & Wario, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but even that made really good use of the gamepad. So I love that first game so much, though. Such a special game. And it was the introduction of like these great mini games like Bird and Beans, Pioro, and like Paper Plane, like,
Fly Swatter.
So good. I love it.
Amazing. Yeah. I think the like aiming the finger into the nose will always be. I just remember it because the first time I saw that was when I knew this game was for me. That was my moment. I was like, okay, it's my game. I got it.
And like, it appeals to like when we were that age, like that's the kind of thing we were into.
Total
like
gross out humor,
picking our noses.
Totally. Yeah, we love picking our noses, dude.
Whole childhood of Ren and Stimpy,
John, what was your first WarioWare game?
I think the GameCube game was my first. I did play the Game Boy Advance game, but not to the extent that we played the GameCube one. And I did not play Game & Wario, so I won't be able to talk about that one, but
that's fair.
It's hard to get now.
Yeah, it's pretty rare.
Is that right? Is it rare now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually was aware of the GBA game, at least, because I can sort of remember in the back annals of my memory seeing the commercials for it for whatever reason. And I was like, what even is this? Because I don't think I even saw Wario in them. I saw Mike and I saw all these other characters. I'm like, what even is this game? I don't know and really, like, because I missed the boat on Wario Land too. So Wario was just, as far as I know, just like Waluigi, a character that was just invented for Mario spinoffs.
Yeah.
And something too that is so brilliant about like with what they did with the GameCube version and now what they're doing with Get It Together is WarioWare plays beautifully as a multiplayer experience.
Oh, so well.
Like, yeah, it's so good. And like even back then, like even back on GBA, because I played the GBA long before I even knew that there was a GameCube version. My cousin and I, again, backseat of our car, would just pass the GBA back and forth, and we would just play it as if it were a multiplayer experience. I mean, that's
such a huge thing for portables because the Game Link cable was never really the ideal solution. Even right. When you got to the DS and you had things like wireless, or you had even download play. Download play was a nice step because then it meant other people didn't have to have the game, but you still had to find somebody else with a DS who wanted to play with you.
That wasn't that hard.
And that was rare.
No,
it was rare for me. I didn't have that many friends. Okay,
sorry, Sam.
But I mean, like, I just think back to, like, you know, in the Game Boy Advance days, it's like, other than Pokemon, when am I gonna just, like, you know, be around somebody else who has a link cable and a Game Boy Advance and the same game and wants to play it with me right now? But if I have a game I can just pass to them and we can pass it back and forth. For me, since I didn't have WarioWare, it was Advance Wars, because you could do that with Advance Wars.
Yeah.
Yep. We did that too.
Same thing. Road trips.
And it becomes like
that's a big thing for making multiplayer work.
Yeah, for sure.
That's actually something I'm a little disappointed the Switch hasn't capitalized on as much, because it's a handheld with 2 controllers attached to it that can detach, and we don't see quite as much multiplayer being pushed that works with those 2 simple controllers.
Ish. I mean, it really kind of depends on the application. That's why I'm so glad that they're doing this for Get It Together, because the Switch, just like you said, is made with that multiplayer experience in mind. Like, right out of the box, you can play 2-player with 2 Joy-Con. And I love that they're capitalizing on that with Get It Together. Yeah, I think that, you know, there's stuff like you can play Mario Kart that way and stuff like that. I mean, it'd be nice to see them have more experiences like a Snipper Clips or something like that. But yeah, I love that they're doing that with Get It Together. It just makes perfect sense. Multiplayer and WarioWare, it's peanut butter and chocolate. It just makes so much sense.
So the legacy coming up next in the timeline, the legacy of WarioWare Twisted and WarioWare Touched is a very strange one, because what you have is, in Japan, you know, WarioWare Touched comes out a year later on October 14th of 2004 on the GBA, and then, Twisted on the GBA comes out October 14th, 2004. Touched comes out December 2nd, 2004. So they go in kind of like chronological order. But in North America, Touched actually comes out first to try to push DS sales. And then a few months later, in May of 2005, Twisted comes out on the GBA and sells terribly, which is a tragedy, because Twisted is my favorite WarioWare game. It's my favorite. And it's because, and I can't think of a better example of a game that used a gyroscope to such great effect. Like, every single game, like, I think even better than micro games, it's so intuitive, you know, because there's only so much you can do, really. Like, you use a button and you twist your system around, and it's super interactive. And I think just, you know, that just kind of like captured my imagination. Like, oh my gosh, like, I'm moving the whole system around, and they had to program all this stuff into it and put all the hardware, and it's just a big bulky cartridge, and you're moving your. I am a huge fan of Twisted. I'm so glad that I own it, because it is a very expensive cartridge now. $78. Yeah.
Are you a Topsy Turvy fan?
I haven't played
the Yoshi game.
I haven't played it. Is it good? Is it not good?
Not my favorite. It's not my favorite Yoshi game, but I mean, it's the same. It uses the gyro.
Did that one come out here? Wasn't that? I thought that was like Europe only or something like that. Or
what? I think it was in the.
No,
US.
that was in the US.
Here,
yeah,
maybe. Okay,
it's the big green. It's the green cartridge.
Okay, let's see here. Yoshi Topsy Turvy. It's only $30. I'll pick that one up. I like gyroscopic gaming.
You might as well pick up those gyro cartridges, because it's not like those games are going to be super easy to emulate ever.
Right.
Yeah, you're not going to.
And I guess the Switch, they could remake them, but they'd have to remake them still.
Well, and I'm trying to remember if
gyros,
did Twisted make it to the Wii U?
No, I don't think so.
No,
because that could have done gyroscope. Nope.
Yeah, I don't know if Twisted was ever re-released like that.
No, it wasn't. That's the thing, man. It's so tragic, because Touched is the inferior game between the two of them.
I agree with
touch
that.
was rushed out, and like it uses the touchscreen, which is cool, but it just doesn't. It doesn't like it's not as intuitive. There's a lot more going on in touched that like is harder to communicate because there's way more you can do, than on just a controller and a D-pad or turning your system around.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely one of those things where they wanted to have that out there to like sell the concept of the DS, right? To sell the concept of, hey, we have this 2-screen setup, we have a touch screen. And it does that well. It's a good game, but I agree. For me, Twisted, like I just like those weird, like when you can have like a weird peripheral and design like your weird little micro games around this thing and this weird functionality that you don't really see much anywhere else. Yeah, I prefer that over touched as well. I agree.
Big time. Okay, so we've got WarioWare. Now, I'll say one more thing about WarioWare Touched that I do like is the little like tools, like the toys that you can unlock. There's like a calculator and like there's like noisemakers and different like micro games you can play. Like there's like there's like a little like paddle game for 2 players where one of you does one like L and the other one does R, and you just kind of like touch one button and hit it back and forth. I really enjoyed that. Like I think my brother and I played more with those than the actual touched game because those were just clever little unlockables.
They always do that so well. I cannot wait to see. They sort of tease, which this was in. If you guys have played that WarioWare Get It Together demo, they tease at the beginning of it Super Puro, and that was actually something that exists in WarioWare Gold. You can unlock it in WarioWare Gold, and it is Puro, like bird and beans, but it is like a super version. Like there's now like a little secret you can do if you let one of the beans fall. It like grows into a vine that you can climb up and go to a bonus stage, and it's way more involved than the standard Puro. So I'm kind of hoping that that's an unlockable in the new one.
Nice.
I always love it when they do that.
So 2 years later, December 2nd, 2006 in Japan and January 15th, 2007 in North America, WarioWare Smooth Moves. I would say probably one of the more successful waggle-based games, right up there with Wii Sports for me in just fun and accuracy and ability to just turn a crowd head. And you can play it with one Wii remote. You pass it around, I believe.
Yeah. I feel like people sleep on Smooth Moves a little bit. That game's better than I think a lot of people give it credit for. I think a lot of people were, us Nintendo fans were always, up on the Wii, but I remember vividly, and I'm sure you guys do too, like when the Wii came out, people were like, what are you doing with that Wii remote? Waving it around like you look stupid. You know what I mean? Like people making fun of you and whatnot. And I think Smooth Moves does a good job, again, just like the series always does, of taking advantage of the hardware and showing why it can be special and showing good application of it.
Yeah.
And being able to pass that back and forth. Smooth Moves is a fun game, man. Underrated.
Yeah, definitely.
Smooth Moves was a better WarioWare game than Shake It was a Wario Land game.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Yeah, I really like Shake It also though. But that's probably fair.
I think Smooth Moves.
That's my take.
Now, you just heard me gush about the GameCube version of Mega Micro Games. But if I were to like get a group of people together to play a WarioWare game, I'd probably choose Smooth Moves over Mega Micro Games. I think just by that time, Nintendo had kind of like mastered the party game aesthetic and like how to get people to have fun together. That I feel like Smooth Moves nails that so much better.
I think if it's, I'll put it to you this way, Dan. I think if it's us, like if it's you and it's me and like you, me, John and Sam, we all get together and we're playing a WarioWare game, we're going to play Smooth Moves probably. But I think like if you're in like a setting where it's people that you don't like know or whatever, you're probably going to go for the GameCube version first, just because,
some of the mini games.
Yeah. I think that it's a little bit more palatable for the average gamer in so far in the way that WarioWare can be palatable. It's already very weird, but
the average gamer. But like, if I'm gonna get my wife to play a WarioWare game, it's gonna be Smooth Moves.
Which is funny because the Wii is like super out there for all audiences. Like that's
very
how
intuitive.
It was Yeah. That's how it was created, and the atmosphere around the console itself, where the GameCube was the exact opposite. It's like, this is for a core gamer.
Yeah.
And this controller was made for alien hands. And
yes.
I love it.
I love it.
And aliens play Smash Bros.
So little known WarioWare game exclusively on DSiWare. We have WarioWare Snapped, which came out in 2008, December 2008 Japan, April 2009 in North America. And I think Seth, you're the only one of us who's even played this game.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a really weird comparison. Do you guys remember iToy on PS2?
Yes.
The iToy? That's kind of how this game is. It kind of takes advantage of the DSi's camera and has you posing, using your fingers or, using your face or whatever to play the games with. And it works pretty well, it works as well as you could hope with that low res, half a
VGA
megapixel
camera. Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's pretty low standard, but again,
one of these.
Right, yeah. Might as well be Game Boy camera at that point.
Game Boy camera.
Those Game Boy cameras, but it's it's good. The micro games themselves, it just exists. It just exists to show off the hardware. It's not like a must play, But yeah, iToy is the weird comparison I would make for anybody who remembers that.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. And then WarioWare DIY, which is also on DS, and it had a WiiWare companion app, which I didn't know that because I had never played DIY.
I want to hear what you have to say about DIY, Sam, because I actually really like DIY.
Sam, this is your first WarioWare.
This is
game,
when
right?
I finally got a taste of WarioWare. Other than, by this point, Wario was in Smash. We had the WarioWare stage in Brawl, but
which was
and
awesome.
This was still kind of indirect. I got a 3DS kind of late. Got the XL. And it was an old used XL by that point. I've gotten most of my handhelds kind of mid-life cycle. And so I was having a lot of fun with it. My brother decided he wanted to get one, so he found a used 3DS on eBay. It came with a couple games. Most of them were DS games. One of them was WarioWare DIY, and I was like, hey, that looks like fun. Let me borrow that. So, I traded him, I think... I'd already loaned him my copy of Fire Emblem Awakening at this point, so he was getting the good deal here. This was just a temporary. We traded back. I
was gonna say, that's not a good trade.
No, I disagree.
It was just let me play this because this is a game I haven't played.
Better in this deal. I think Awakening is not a great game, but let's just keep going.
But regardless, this was when I finally played WarioWare. So, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I really didn't use the actual DIY. That was, that was the big thing, was you could make your own games, but I didn't really dabble with that. I just kind of played through because it was a used game, it actually had save data on it. Everything was already unlocked. So I kind of just played through every set of games once, and I was like, so that's WarioWare. That was pretty fun. That was pretty cool, but I kind of moved on.
Way better than Fire Emblem.
Yeah. So the cool thing about WarioWare DIY is it does have the level of detail that you would see. I wouldn't go as far as to say how it is in something like Game Builder Garage, but it's definitely a step between something you would see in Mario Maker, with the personality and the ease of use of a Mario Maker, but with a higher level of depth of you kind of felt like you were a little budding programmer or something like that, because you could, integrate logic, and you could make your own music, and you could draw your own stuff. You could put in, and then you could have download from people that are making their own user generated content in addition to the actual Nintendo made micro games. It was a really cool little slice in time. Unfortunately, that stuff's not available anymore, but it was a really cool kind of moment in time.
Seth, do you know how the WiiWare component worked?
Unfortunately, no. I'm not familiar with the WiiWare component. Okay. I didn't really mess with that.
I think according to Wikipedia, it's you can play some of the games that you can send your game to your Wii and play it on your TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could see that. I don't know if it would. I don't know if there was any option to integrate like motion or anything in any of the logic, but
probably just like
you
pointer like touch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Replacing your touch.
Rudimentary stuff.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, and then we went a whole 3 years, you guys. We had the launch of the Wii U, and then in North America, launch year of the Wii U, 2013. On June 23rd, we got Game & Wario.
Yeah, we did.
Wah, wah.
So Game & Wario, Game & Wario is a very weird. I hesitate to even call it a. I hesitate to even call it a WarioWare game. And the reason for that is because it's more like a Nintendo Land kind of experience. I think that game has like 12 to 15 games in it, like total. And they aren't micro games. They're like kind of like in Nintendo Land. They're like little like demo games almost. Like, and they're fun and they're like well made and it makes good use of the gamepad, but it doesn't feel like a WarioWare experience.
Yeah. Games are too long, aren't they?
Yeah.
For
yeah,
WarioWare.
like they're yes. I mean you're going to WarioWare for that quick, snappy, kind of fun experience. And this kind of felt like a Nintendo Land kind of experience.
They didn't call it a WarioWare game either.
Exactly.
The title still confuses me. Is this a crossover between Game & Watch and Wario?
That's what they were going for, yeah. And it just and like the presentation of it is actually good. Like it looks good. It has all that charm and quirk of WarioWare that you expect. And again, makes good use of the gamepad, but it's not WarioWare. You know, like it's not what I was looking for from a WarioWare game. And yeah, I mean, I guess they weren't trying to sell me a WarioWare game ultimately.
Seth, do you still have this game?
No, I wish I did now that I know it's rare.
I was going to say, do you know how much a copy of Game & Wario is going for?
Let's hear it.
How much is it?
About $100, $115.
Damn.
Yeah, I got rid of my Wii U, man. I wish
so
I hadn't.
recently.
Yeah, you could. Well, it's been over $100 for the last year or so.
No.
I mean, it's been a little while.
I think they were like $20 copies floating around up until like 8 months ago.
Maybe we'll get lucky and bump into one at a GameStop or something like that.
Maybe. Find somebody selling their Wii U who doesn't know what they have. They're all over the place.
GameStop selling it for $30. So if you can find one at a GameStop, hey, go for it.
So this marks the longest period of time between Game & Wario and WarioWare Gold that we ever had where we were lacking WarioWare. And that is 2013 through 2018, a whopping 5 years with no WarioWare. Wow. And I mean, some people may not even like, you might look at Game & Wario and be like, this isn't WarioWare, you know? I mean, it's not.
And you might even look at Gold, because if I'm not mistaken, Gold is pretty much like a best of.
But at least you can play WarioWare on it.
Yeah, it is. But
it's not exactly brand new.
No, yeah, but it's kind of like a really good comparison, because they did this with Rhythm Heaven as well with Megamix on 3DX, yeah. And it's very, very similar. It is kind of like the greatest hits. It's all the good stuff, but they've packaged it actually in a really like well done package. Charles Martinet does actual like voice acting as Wario in that game. Like he does like full lines, and it's like really good. Actually, he's a really good voice actor.
And WarioWare Gold?
Yeah, and WarioWare Gold.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, and he actually like has WarioWare like speak and have like a big personality and full lines and a little bit of a story to it. And it's, you know, it may be kind of a greatest hits, but they've packaged it in such a way that like it just feels like it feels like a big love letter to the series. And like that game on 3DS is a real treat if you haven't played it.
That game is also starting to hike up in value a little bit, so you might want to grab a copy.
Yeah, I have it digitally on my 3DS, but I might want to grab that physically.
I bought it a while ago for $20. It's already back up over $40 now.
Oh wow,
so
it's really good. It's really good.
I was just thinking, especially because of the comparison with Rhythm Heaven. You know, in that case, that's another series that kind of, you know, had a pretty big gap, and then you had Megamix, which was a lot of, you know, reusing Now, in that case, it was by necessity. The guy who does most of the music has, been struggling with, I think it's throat cancer.
Yes.
So, I mean, that has put that series on hold. But I mean, that comparison, just where you have this series that's like, is this just like, kind of sending the series off? Is this the last WarioWare? Or are they just trying to like send Wario off with one last game? We got our answer last Direct.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, I feel like I really do. That is a great segue, Sam. Well done. I really do kind of feel like Get It Together. Hey, a Samway. There we go. I dig that.
Is that like Subway?
Samway. Eat fresh.
I do feel like Get It Together is sort of that last ditch effort now. It's like, okay, like if we can't make this series work on the Switch, like we're never going to make it work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's lost forever at that point.
Yeah, so I really do feel like Get It Together. And by the way, like playing that demo, man, like I'm so sold on the concept of that game. Like I really wasn't feeling it, to be honest with you. As much as I love WarioWare, and as much as by the way, you're all welcome. I performed the seance ahead of the E3 Direct.
You did.
And summoned that game.
Yeah. You did. Well, I'm gonna have to send you my copy of Gotcha Force. You can make that happen for me.
Yeah.
And the ogre battle.
Anytime. And so anyway, it was a huge like vindictive, that sort of vindicated moment for me when they announced it. But then I was watching the trailer at first and I was like, I don't know. I'm not really digging the way the art style looks. And I don't know about, playing as the little chibi-fied Wario characters. But like they totally sold me with that demo, man, because like the way that every character controls differently and it changes the way you interact with all these. You have a character that can't even traditionally move like the right way. Like 18 volt.
The right way.
He cannot move. Like to make him move, you have to shoot his disc and like hook shot onto these little hook points. So that, I mean, they have had to design all of the micro games, of which there are evidently over 200 in this game. They've had to design them all around every single playable character. It's wild. I mean, so this game does feel like, all hands on deck. Like we have got to make WarioWare work, and if it doesn't work on Switch, it's not going to work. I really feel like if this game doesn't do well, and I think it will, but I feel like if it doesn't, it might be the last WarioWare game. So, if you're within earshot of my voice, buy WarioWare, Get It Together.
It's a big change, but like to me, like I mean, I had fun with DIY, but it didn't exactly hook me in any big way. And I think this has, just from the demo. I'll be picking this up day one.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of it, thinking back to that, seeing those ads, wondering who the heck all these weird characters were. WarioWare has a very colorful cast of characters, but there's always been kind of a disparity, a disconnect between those characters and the micro games you're actually playing. They are themed around them, but it's kind of just like, okay, well, I guess these are Ashley's games and these are Mona's games and these are Wario's games. Okay, whatever, sure. But to really, kind of recenter the game around them a little bit, I think is a very good move.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
I totally agree.
I always loved the characters. I'm a huge fan of 9 Volt. But like his games were always really cool, but there's not a lot of connection between you and the character. So I think it's great. I haven't gotten around to playing the demo yet, and I really want to. Just my life right now, I have to.
Dan.
I know. I'm gonna buy. Listen, I already have the game pre-ordered. I'm gonna buy it. There's no question in my mind. But I'm
in the same boat. I haven't played it yet either. I need to find time with my son and roll through.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I'll tell you this much, guys. Like my wife and I were playing this demo, and even though the demo only shows you the first set of micro games, and she's not like a huge gamer, but she kept asking me like the next night, she's like, "Are we gonna play more of that demo?" Like it's so, like it is so addictive. It's great.
I'm really down for them honing in on the multiplayer aspect of WarioWare, because I think that's I think where it shines the brightest, is when you can share the stupid experiences with your friends.
And it is stupid. It's so stupid and weird, and I love it.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a great place to end our little WarioWare talk. Seth, did you have any other final words besides encouraging everyone on the planet to buy?
That's where I'm at right now. Just guys, go buy Get It Together. At least try the demo. I mean, I think that the fact that they released that demo, it was so smart. Like, because this is the kind of game that really does need to be played, you know, for you to be sold on the concept. Exactly. So download the demo, and if you like it, buy it.
I mean, just trying to explain WarioWare to somebody that doesn't know what it is, and like be like, "Hey, you're gonna play a game that lasts like 10 seconds." You know, somebody's gonna be like, "What's the point of that?" Yeah, if that.
And then they get faster and faster, and you play them all over again.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you get high scores, and there's unlockables, and this one has like leaderboards and like all this daily challenges, and like I'm going to be playing this game like a madman when it comes out. I cannot wait.
Awesome. Good deal. Well, that is our little chat about WarioWare featuring our good buddy Seth. Go buy it. Now,
please.
Just a couple little baby community announcements. We've got Retro Rewind game for August is Claymates. You still have time to play it. If you want to come and chat with us about it, we are meeting up this Thursday night, September 2nd at 9:30 p.m. on a Zoom call. We're going to record it. We're going to release it as a podcast. And if you played Claymates now or in the past, you are welcome to join. You do need to be a member of our Discord, though. So go to Twitter, go to RetroLogic Games on Twitter, and click the Discord link in my bio. Join up. Tell us you want to play Claymates, and sign up via the proper channel there with the link and all that stuff. If you need help, just at me on Twitter and I'll help you. So, Seth, where can people where can people find you? And when am I going to be on Keep Nintendo Weird again?
Hey, you're always, all of you guys are always welcome on Keep Nintendo Weird or All In whenever you want. You can find me on Twitter at $2 Hero. I also stream on Twitch. I've been streaming on Twitch a little bit more lately.
Yeah, I caught your Halo 2 thing. I have a friend, my buddy Steven. I don't know if you caught Steven's episode on here.
Yes, I did. Right.
He's a level designer for one of the developers that does Halo games. So I thought he might be a cool guy for you to get on All In at some point. And not that you talk about Halo on All In, but I know you like Halo.
I love Halo. I Halo 2 specifically. That's another game. If you guys do a Halo 2 episode, holla at your boy.
Oh yeah.
I love some Halo 2. I've been playing that on there. Just recently started streaming Jet Set Radio Future, which is like one of my top 10 favorite games of all time. You can find me on there. That's also $2 Hero. Again, All In. That's ALL and then the letter N. A Nintendo podcast on all the podcast feeds, and Keep Nintendo Weird. And yeah, I'm always doing stuff. Just having a blast.
You are.
Thanks so much, guys, for having me on.
And Seth, you're hilarious and fun to follow on Twitter. You're always got something cool to say. So,
well, thank you.
Plug your Twitter account real quick.
Yeah, at $2 Hero also on Twitter. I'm at $2 Hero on most places. So,
awesome, good deal, John. Anything else you want to say?
No, also go buy WarioWare because I plan on buying it.
WarioWare. Sam, what do you got for us? What do you got? Signing out.
Get it together. Buy WarioWare.
Yes.
I promise.
Yes, Nintendo.
I promise Nintendo doesn't pay me for us to say this, but seriously, go buy WarioWare. All right. On that note, thanks for listening to the RetroLogic podcast. We are proudly part of the Nintendo Dads family of podcasts. If you like what you hear, check me out on Twitter and Instagram at RetroLogic Games. You're also welcome to jump into our friendly and non-toxic Discord community. Seriously, guys, I put a lot of work into making sure that the Discord is just positive and fun and safe, and whatever you're into, we're into. So come hang out with us. Come meet some of the nicest gamers on the internet.
Best retro community on the internet. Straight up.
Thanks, bud.
I'm not just saying that. Straight up.
The link to that Discord is in my Twitter bio. You can find everything. If you're like, where do I go for stuff, Dan? Well, let me tell you. Go to the website retrologic.games, and you can find the game store, the merch. You can find the link to Discord. You can find the Twitter feed. You can find our music history podcast, Retro Groove, on there. All the things is at retrologic.games. So go there, check it out, buy a sticker, and support what we're doing here. And on that note, I will say Goodbye, everyone. See y'all next week.
Goodbye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, WarioWare.
That doesn't sound like an ad. Yeah. September 10th. Yeah.